In today's free MaddenSchool.com tip, I'm going to be going over a coverage play. Most of the feedback I've received from the comments on YouTube and Madden School, and from the community in general, is that people want to see more defense, and that's kind of understandable because defense just kind of sucks in Madden 25. Unless you're using the 49ers or the Seahawks or something like that, and you're just an elite level Madden player and can force a bunch of fumbles, you're going to struggle on defense. You're going to give up at least a couple touchdowns every time. So with that in mind, this play is a coverage play that we want to call, and it's ideal when three criteria are met. The first thing we want to make sure of before we call this play is that we're going against a quarterback who's not an elite level scrambling quarterback. So that's like a Robert Griffin III, Colin Kaepernick, Terrell Pryor, guys with like 90 speed, anything close to that, like 88 speed or anything like that, you don't want to call this play. Now the second criteria is you want to be absolutely sure your opponent's not running. So like that would be in a 3rd and 12 situation or something like that. Or if you're going against a guy who just never runs the ball, there's a lot of guys like that online. The third and final criteria, which kind of this play is based around, this is the reason why we call this play, is if you're playing a guy who only targets one or two receivers. Now most upper level Madden guys are going to take their checkdowns, they're going to look to their tight end, they're going to look to their running back, they're going to include everybody, and they're going to take what's given to them. But there's a large majority of people that you're going to play. Say they're using the Lions. They're going to throw to Calvin Johnson as often as they possibly can. The same thing goes with the Bengals with A.J. Green, the Texans with Andre Johnson. The list goes on and on. There's a bunch of teams, a bunch of players who only throw to one or two guys per team. Now in that situation, that's the perfect time to call this play. And I like to call it out of either a quarter or any sort of cover 4 with 2 yellow zones. There's a lot of cover 4s with only 1 yellow zone, and it's not nearly as good as the one with 2 yellow zones. So we'll go ahead and call this cover 4 here. And then we're going to be running it against something where 5 guys go out on routes. Now at this point, your opponent should be at least blocking 1 extra guy if you've done any blitzing at all. Maybe 2 extra guys, but we'll go ahead and call it just against 5 routes, just so you can kind of see how it works. So this is kind of the basic look of the play pre-snap. It's actually a pretty good play just by default, and the play itself by default is a great coverage play just to begin with. But going back to what I said earlier about that you want to call this play versus somebody who only goes to a couple of receivers. So in that situation, if they're only going to their top 2 receivers, which in this case are Andre Johnson and DeAndre Hopkins, the setup is to put both of these cornerbacks in man coverage. So both the outside cornerbacks are now manned up against their receivers. Now there are a couple glaring weaknesses with this play. There's every play in Madden, they have weaknesses. The first one is that if your opponent play actions you and throws a streak deep, if they have someone pretty fast and pretty good, they'll generally get that. Now this does again go back to what I said earlier, where you want to be 100% sure that your opponent is passing. So in this situation, you'd pass commit, and so when you pass commit, your guy's not going to react to the play action, and he'll be all over that deep bomb. So that concern is kind of mitigated. It's not necessarily something we should be worried about. The second concern is any sort of wheel route, like a slot wheel route or a running back running a wheel route. And that's why we user control these safeties. Generally, any sort of wheel route our purple zones will stay with for at least 10 or 15 yards, and that'll give us enough time to manually control one of these safeties all the way over there to the sideline and break up the wheel route. The final thing we're going to look for on this play is if you're going against a semi-mobile quarterback. Now again, you don't want to call this play against like a super mobile quarterback, but like maybe an Andrew Luck with like 80 speed, or a Ryan Tannehill or a Jake Locker type thing, where they're kind of fast, but they're not, you're not really worried about them running. They're just kind of fast. We'll put this defensive tackle in a QB spot. Now what that does is it just makes sure that if your opponent does scramble, he's not going to get 20 yards. He'll get 5 yards maybe. It kind of just lessens our risk of a big play. Now, again, we're going against Matt Schaub here, so we'll go ahead and blitz him because Matt Schaub's just not a threat at all to run. Now, this is how the play looks from the offense's point of view. Again, we're going to just kind of look at the 2 outside receivers here because that's why we're calling this play, to shut down the outside receivers. We'll go to Andre Johnson on this first play, and we should see pretty good coverage. And you can see our guys all over that in the purple zone there, and we can get an easy pick. Now I'll set it up the same way, and we'll look to the other side here. Now again, you do want to control these safeties and take away the seam routes, any sort of wheel routes. But if you have any sort of decent user skill, you should be able to do that pretty easily. We'll look at Hopkins this time, and we should be all over it again. You can see we have two guys in that area, and that ends in a pick. So this is the type of coverage play that's really been effective for me personally, and I know it's pretty popular within the higher level guys in the Madden community. This type of creative coverage where it's some man, some zone, designed to stop what your opponent's strengths are. So if you're enjoying our tips, make sure to like, subscribe, buy an ebook, buy a Madden School 365 membership, show your support. We'll continue to do the same thing we're doing. And again, keep leaving the comments and letting us know what you want, because this is really helpful for us. And I know it's helping you guys too, based on the comments that we've got. So until next time, take care.